What's up guys, it's Darius, and today I have another Final Fantasy 15 video for you, bringing you some more information sort of. Now this information is coming from an interview with Hajime Tabata, which is obviously the producer of Final Fantasy 15 now, after Tetsuya Nomura left. And in this interview he's basically just talking about some of the inspirations for Final Fantasy 15 and how he himself is very different from other, I guess you would say, producers or developers in general within Square Enix. So in his interview he talks about how Type 0 is very different, and it's different it's different because this Final Fantasy is a very mature and very action-oriented game, much like Final Fantasy 15 is, and this is obviously a child of him being very different. Now we all know how different Final Fantasy 13 was and how a lot of people really didn't like that game just because of multiple reasons, but the main reason was because it was not, the gameplay was not Final Fantasy, I guess you would say. It's not the usual turn-based sort of Final Fantasy. So basically he was just talking about how he loves the feel of action games. Like, he loves how you have more control when you're having when you're playing a game that's action oriented. He loves the transition and controls of action games, and that's really what he's been trying to do with 15 this whole time, is just trying to make everything more seamless, but at the same time have those Final Fantasy elements, still in the game to make it feel like a Final Fantasy game. He also talked about how he and his team are not afraid to go or think outside of the box, much like how Final Fantasy 13 was. And like he said, he says in the interview actually that he knows that some people may or may not like that particular game, but it's really what he wanted to do, and he felt like what he did, especially as he progressed with that trilogy, it got better and better, and actually helped him for what he wanted to do with 15. But then in the interview he goes on to talk about the inspirations that he had in order to make 15 what it is right now. And he said some of the inspirations come from Final Fantasy X and 8. These inspirations exactly from these games are, I guess, the open world feel of it, and the great balance of just going out in the world and having a pretty good sized world and being able to just explore it and have no linearity at all. He actually mentions how he knows how in 13 there was a lot of linearity in the game where the story was just bringing you along, and whatever the story went, you had to go. And well, in Final Fantasy 15 he's trying to change that completely, where the story suggests you go somewhere, but you can go completely somewhere else, and we've seen that in the footage so far for the games. I guess you could probably just go back to the live stream of episode Dusky and see where there are parts where there's a main objective and the rest of the team besides Noctis goes to a certain point and is like, hey, you can come over here and check this cave out, or this item out. And I'm guessing those are examples of him saying where, like, you can go to your main mission, but there are other stuff on the side besides the main story or main objective that you can go look at. So I'm guessing that's what the inspiration is of Final Fantasy 10 and 8, but obviously the world will be much bigger. But then he goes on with the interview and he says something that's pretty important, which is the main topic of this video. And he says that when I ask the fans in the media what their favorite Final Fantasy game is, I want them all to say it's 15. He goes on to say, a personal objective for me and my team is that it's such a great experience and players get so involved in the world that by the end they don't want to complete the game. They want to keep playing forever. If we can get people to say that, then we've already achieved what we wanted. Now that's pretty important because, again, it goes back to him really just being fully invested into this game and really wanting to make this game his dream. And that's something you don't really see in a lot of game developers today, is them wanting that fan reception, and him being able to ask a fan like, what's your favorite Final Fantasy, and them saying 15, and then him asking why, and saying like, I never wanted that game to end. I still play it to this day, and I'm still finding stuff in the world, and the story is just really cool, and the gameplay is very enjoyable. Now, my question to you guys is, do you think that Final Fantasy 15 will at least have the chance of being considered one of the greatest Final Fantasy games ever? Now, I know there's a lot of bias in the Final Fantasy community, which I personally don't really like, personally, that Final Fantasy VII is the best Final Fantasy game, and whoever thinks that, and that's personally their opinion, but I just wish more people would give Final Fantasy 15 a chance, sort of, because this game is not out yet, and there's a lot we haven't seen yet, and there's stuff being announced every single day for this game, new details all the time, that is making this game look very promising. So I just want you guys to give, I guess, sort of an unbiased opinion. Put your favorite Final Fantasy to the side for a moment, I guess, and just based off of what you've seen so far, do you think Final Fantasy 15 does have a chance to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Final Fantasy of all time? Personally, I can't say so myself right now because it's way too early to even think that, but it does look very promising, and I can say, based off of what we've seen, I probably will be doing what he wants us to do, which is playing this game for a long time and saying that I never wanted the game to end, and I just always want something new to be found and for us to continue to be able to play it. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think Final Fantasy 15 has the chance to be the greatest Final Fantasy in the series so far? Let me know if you think it's too early, just like me, to even make a decision on that. Please subscribe, like, share. Please comment, let me know what you think on this subject, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.